the PowerPoint slide deck will be covered for this afternoon briefing session, right? So the PowerPoint slide also available on the announcement section of the Canvas site. You can get a copy of the PowerPoint slide for today's briefing session from the announcement of Canvas site. Okay, so as usual, okay, let me share the screen for the PowerPoint slide. Okay, can you see the screen? Can? All right. So online quiz 3 will be conducted on 23rd November, which is Monday. Okay, is the time that we suppose should be used for the lecture, because that is the only common time we have. That's why I use that time for conducting online assessment. And the duration of the quiz is only 30 minutes as usual. Okay, and students are expected to attempt the quiz start from 4 p.m. And if you start at 4 p.m., then you should be able to finish at 4:30. Okay, but you're only allowed to attempt the quiz within 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. Malaysia time. Okay, so if you start the quiz, let's say 4:20, then you're expected to finish the quiz by 4:50. Okay, you're only given 30 minutes only to attempt the quiz. So try to attempt the quiz as early as possible. Okay. Okay, then what are the required things, okay, that you need to prepare for this quiz? Okay, maybe I can talk about the chapter first. Okay, generally, what are the chapters that will be covered for this quiz? Okay, in fact, there are only the teaching materials that were already covered for week 8, 9, and 10 will be covered for this quiz. So that means will be the chapters that we covered in week 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so what are the chapters that we have covered? Okay, so in chapter 8, we already studied the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics, okay? And also the circular flow of income. So later on, we're going to go in more detail. What is the meaning of circular flow income? What are the markets involved? Okay, so the online quiz 3 also make sure that you also have to understand what is the meaning of gross domestic output and the approaches to calculate the gross domestic output. Okay, so gross domestic output is one of the national income calculation to measure the wealth obtained by a country throughout a year. So we are going to discuss in more detail later on. So these are the sections that we have covered in week 8. And in week 9, we already studied 3 different macroeconomics problems, which are the fluctuation of business cycle, and inflation is referred to the continuous price increase for all other products sold in the economy. Okay, and the third macroeconomics problem will be high unemployment rate. That means many people are unemployed, even though they want to look for a job, but they were unemployed. So these are the major 3 macroeconomic issues that you have to know in order to prepare you for the online quiz 3. Then for week number 10, we also already studied 2 major things, which are aggregate demand and aggregate supply, followed by monetary policy that can be used by government in order to monitor the aggregate demand in short run. Okay, so in general, these are the chapters that you need to focus for online quiz 3. Okay, so we are going to go more detail later on during our session. Okay, so week 8, 9, and 10 lectures like you need to go through again in order to prepare you for the online quiz 3. So far so good, Okay, so how is the format of the online quiz 3? Also the same, Okay, you need to get ready a calculator also. Okay, there will be some question that require to do calculation, especially when we want to calculate the nominal rate and also the real rate. We need to use calculator to do the calculation. Some question may ask you to calculate the unemployment rate. Okay, so get ready a calculator. Use the calculator that you are familiar. Try not to use handphone. Use the financial calculator or any scientific calculator, or just conventional calculator to help you to do calculation. All right. And this quiz actually is only will involve 30 minutes only, yeah. And the weighting of the quiz is 10%. 10%. Huh? So how many questions altogether? As usual, there'll be 15 questions only. All are multiple choice question. Multiple choice question means A, B, C, D. Yeah, one question has 4 options for you to choose. So choose the appropriate answer that you think is the correct one. Okay, there is no essay or no structural question as well. And after attempting the 15 question, then you need to click on the submit button electronically on Canvas in order to submit your answers. Okay, so the format, okay, you can also refer to the practice exercise 3 as a sample for online quiz 3. Yeah, the pattern of the question that covered for your practice exercise 3 is quite similar. So, okay, let me go to practice exercise 3 now. That is available on Canvas. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, so if you go to the Canvas site for economics, okay, the next step is you can go to syllabus. Okay, maybe probably I can use the student view so that you are more familiar. Okay, let me go to student view. Okay, then you choose syllabus. On the left-hand side of the panel control, you choose syllabus. Okay, then you can scroll down, go to section of course summary, click on the practice exercise 3. Okay. So the instruction given also occurred similar to online quiz 3. Okay, so read the instruction and then click on the begin button. Quite slow, the system. Okay, so for this time, I purposely I'm not going to give you any answer for practice exercise 3. Why? This time is, okay, we expect you to do all the practice exercise 3 question so that those questions can be discussed during the tutorial this week. Okay, during our second tutorial this week, we are going to discuss practice exercise 3. So your tutor are going to discuss those questions with you during the tutorial session this week. Okay, so try to do these questions so that we can discuss during the second tutorial session this week. Okay, so for practice exercise 3, you can do as many times as possible. Okay, so the format of the question quite similar to the online quiz 3, quite similar question. Okay. Any question related to the format of question before we discuss in more detail again? What are the chapters or the areas that you need to focus for each chapter? Any questions so far regarding the format of the question for online quiz 3? Okay, if not, then I'll just straight go to the point. Now I go back to the PowerPoint slide. Okay, okay, so we start from the summary for chapter 8. So in chapter 8, what are the things that you need to focus then? Okay, the first thing that you need to focus will be the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. You need to differentiate between these two terms. What is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? So microeconomics only focus on the individual and private firms' behavior and the choices and how they interact among each other. So it's more focused on the individual consumer and firms' behavior in making choices and interaction. Okay. On the other hand, how about macroeconomics? Macroeconomics is a study that involves the whole economy in a nation. So that means it involves all the industries, all the markets, okay, in an economy. Economy here can be referred to a nation or a country. Okay. Besides national economy, is also focused on the international trade, such as export and import as well. Okay. Whole economy means the study is involved all the industries, all the markets in an economy. Yeah. So among the macroeconomic issues that are focused include the business cycle, the inflation, and also the unemployment issue. All these are called as macroeconomic studies. Okay, whereby the activities will affect the whole nation. All of the people get involved. All of the people get impacted. And then it's called as macroeconomics. Okay. And besides that, you also need to know what is the circular flow of income. What is the meaning? So this diagram actually is showing the movement of money, products, and also the factors of production movement in an economy. Okay, so if the economy only involves two sectors, what is the meaning? That means it's only involved the household sector and firm sector. We call as two-sector economy. Two-sector means involve only household sector and firm sector. Firm is referred to the private firms. So in the two-sector economy, there is no government intervention. There is no international trade, no export, no import. Only involve local transaction, and we call this type of economy as closed economy. This is closed economy because only involve internal stakeholders, internal sectors only, which are household and firms. So it's called as closed economy. Okay. So in the circular flow of income diagram, what are the markets involved? You may find that there are two markets involved, right? Product market and vector market. Only two markets involved. Okay. So what is the meaning of product market here? Product market is referred to the market that's selling goods and services. Okay, it's the market that involves transaction of goods and services, whereby the household will use their money to buy goods and services from firm. So in return, the household will pay money to firms as their spending. Okay, so this happens in the product market, involve transaction of goods and services. On the other hand, there is another market, it's called as the vector market, which involves transaction of factors for production. Do you know what are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So these four factors of production will be offered by household. Okay, according to this diagram, the household will offer four factors of production to the private firms for producing products. Okay, and in return, the firms will pay wages, rent, dividend, interest, and profit to the household that provide the factors of production in the vector market. Okay, so in this diagram, you need to understand what is the meaning of product market and also the vector market. Yeah. So because of this is the closed economy, you may find that actually the total expenditure is exactly equal to the total income. Okay? Total expenditure is exactly equal to the total income in an economy. Okay. So far, any question on the circular flow of income diagram? Okay, quite easy to understand, right? Okay. So based on this diagram, actually, there are three approaches that can be used to calculate national income of an economy. National income of an economy. So one of the term we use to name the national income is called as the GDP or gross domestic product. So this is one of the terms we can use to represent the national income. Okay, so gross domestic product has three approaches for doing the calculation. There are three ways to measure GDP. Okay, what are the ways? We can use either the production approach, or we call it as value-added approach. Production approach, another name is also called as value-added. Value-added. So this approach is sum up the value of all final goods produced in a country within a year. Okay. Usually the GDP is in yearly basis. So if using the production approach or value-added approach, that means the GDP will be equal to the values of all final goods produced in a country within a year. Okay. Do you want me to give any example on how to calculate the GDP by using production approach? Do you still can remember about this one, the wheat, flour, and also bread? Can you recall the example that we use to calculate the GDP by using production approach? Do you want me to give any example? Hello, I stop for a while. Do you want me to go through any example for production approach? Any questions so far? Okay or not? Okay, it seems to be I need quiet. Okay, so I think I better just go through one time. Remember this diagram? Okay, I try to share the screen. Okay, let me try to save the file first. Okay, let me leave the meeting for a while. I try to unrecord first. I'll stop the recording first, and then I'll come back. Hold on.
So you have to unmute your mic.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Thank you for reminding. Okay, let me also do recording. Hold on. Okay, let me try to share the screen again. Okay, so can you see the PowerPoint slide? All right. So this PowerPoint slide is showing the example of how to use output approach or production approach or value added approach to calculate the GDP of a country. So assume that firm R produces wheat, okay, with the value of 100, and firm I purchases the wheat produced from firm R with the market price of $100 and manage to produce or convert the wheat into flour that is able to sell at the price of $130. And lastly, firm F purchases the flour from firm I at the market price of $130 and uses this flour to produce bread and sells the bread for $180. So now the question is asking, so from this example, how much GDP have been contributed? How much GDP have been contributed if output approach is applied? Okay, so there are two ways to get the answer. What you can do is you always go to the final goods. Okay, final goods in this case is bread, right? Bread is the final goods. So what is the value of the bread then in the market price is 180. So this is the value of the final goods that managed to be produced in the economy. Yeah. So that means in these business transactions here, three business transactions, and the GDP value is actually equal to $180. $180. Okay. Another method that you can calculate the answer is another method is what can you do is okay, you identify first for firm R how much value been generated 100, right? So firm R generated 100. Okay. How about firm I? Firm I generate how much then? Firm I is generate flour, right? 130, but it's using the raw material of wheat. So the difference between 130 and 100 is 30. Okay. So this is the additional GDP contributed by firm I. Okay. Then how about firm F? Firm S is producing $180 of bread, but don't forget this 180 of bread is based on the resources of flour 130. So the difference is $50 difference, right? So that means firm F managed to contribute $50 of GDP in the country for this transaction. Okay. So in total, how much GDP being contributed by these three firms? So 100 from firm R, 30 from firm I, and $50 from firm F. So in total is 180. Okay, so this is how you calculate the GDP by using output approach. It should be okay, right? Quite straightforward. Huh? Okay, next. I try to share another PowerPoint slide again. Huh? So now let us go back to the online free briefing session again. The PowerPoint slide. It seems to be I need to leave the session for a while. Don't save, huh? Okay. I think I need to leave the session for a while again before I come back. Okay. How is the recording now? Okay, it's recording now. Let me share the screen. Okay. All right, but bear in mind, any business transaction, okay, that involve the secondary sales should not be included in GDP. Yeah, secondary sale like maybe second hand cloth should not be included in the GDP calculation. If involve the second hand goods of transaction. Okay, and also purely financial transaction like stocks and bonds transaction as well should not be included in GDP calculation. Plus any product or services produced by the homemaker without involving any market transaction also should not be included. Like for instance, maybe Ali is a farmer that planting veggie, but using this veggie for on consumption only without business transaction, and then it's also not being calculated in the GDP. Okay. And lastly is the transfer payment. This can be the financial aids provided by government to the poor people or the private company, the NGO financial aid to the low income person. Okay, also not being included in the GDP calculation. And lastly is the intermediate goods. Be careful with the intermediate goods for the value-added approach or production approach. Intermediate goods also should not be included in the GDP calculation. Intermediate goods are we call as the goods used to produce output in future, to produce more output in future. I call as intermediate goods. Okay, these are not the final goods. These are the goods used to produce final goods in future. Also should not be included in GDP calculation if using the production approach, such as machine, computer that used by supermarket for recording their business transaction also should not be included. This is considered as intermediate goods. Okay. Okay, then, okay, how about the second approach then? Second approach is called as the expenditure approach. That is, the GDP calculation is summing up all of the spending made by the 4 sectors in the economy. Okay, the total spending that made by an economy sectors. Okay, so how are the 4 sectors that have to be included then? Okay, we should include the individual consumer spending. Okay, C usually we use C to represent individual consumer spendings, or we call it as household spendings. Okay, and the next sector will be the investment sector. So investment sector will be involved the investment by the household and also the private firms. Usually the private firms. Okay, investment. Let's say opening new firms in in a wide area or open one factory for producing product. This is considered as investment. Okay. Then G is referred to the government spending, so we use G as the symbol. And NX is referred to the next export, which is referred to export minus the import. Okay, so NX is the export minus import. Okay, but for expenditure approach, there is one thing that you need to remember, especially housing. For housing, housing. Okay, if individual purchase house for own consumption, okay, housing for own consumption, I put new house, all right, new house. For on so should this spending be included as C or I? What do you think? If an individual purchase a new house for own consumption, should this expenses be categorized as C or I? Anybody? Hello, can anybody answer? Volunteer? Or should I call your name? Okay, let me try. I think the other day we already caught until Alvin, I think already. Okay, since Grace come in quite early, right? Grace Ang, can you answer the question? Grace Ang. Okay, my question is, if an individual purchase a new house for own consumption, should it be categorized as C, I, G, or an X? Or anybody can help, Grace. Okay, I got D. Okay.
So is it C?
Yes, good, very good. So C is the correct answer is C, the household consumption. Yes, very good, Grace. Thank you. So actually, you have to categorize this transaction as C. Okay, it's under C. Okay, how about if an individual purchase new house? Okay, for investment purpose. Investment means it's not used for own consumption, but is to rent out. Is to rent out for other people to stay, not for own consumption. That is the meaning. To rent out. So what is the component of GDP that should be considered? Correct. Very good. So new house for investment should be categorized as investment. Okay. Investment here include renting the house to other people to stay. Okay. Okay. How about buy an all house? How about this business transaction then? Should it be included in GDP?
No, sir.
Yeah, correct answer is no. Why?
Second-hand.
Yes, it's second-hand house already, because the all house business transaction already been counted when the house was firstly translated or purchased by an owner before, already been counted when the house was firstly purchased by an owner before. So if we include again the business transaction for all house, then this will involve we call it the double counting. So we are going to overestimate the GDP, which is not advisable in an economy. So buy an all house, that means it's not included. Not included as GDP. GDP. Okay. How about another one? Another activity. Building a house for on use. I think I try to increase the font size so that you can see. How about this one? Building a house for on use. Do you think this one should be included in GDP calculation? This activity, what do you think?
Not include.
Yes, answer is not include. Why?
No business.
Correct, because no business transaction after building the house is not for selling. So that means there is no business transaction for this house. Okay, so that means it's not included in GDP. Okay, so make sure that you understand all of these. All right. Okay, next will be the income approach. Okay, So if we're using the income approach to calculate the GDP, that means the GDP value will be equal to the total income received by the 4 factors of production. Income received by 4 factors of production is the GDP for under the income approach, right? So GDP value will be equal to the rental received by land, wages or salaries received by the labor, interest received by offering the capital. Capital means the machine or intermediate goods, okay, and also the profit that will be gained by the entrepreneurs. Okay, so make sure that you know the formula to calculate GDP for each approach, right? For each approach, you must know how to use formula, and what are the business transactions that should not be included in GDP. So far, okay? Okay, lastly, for this chapter also, we already learned the difference between the real GDP and nominal GDP. Real GDP and nominal GDP. Okay. So what is the difference here between real and nominal GDP? So for nominal GDP is using the current price, or we call it as the calculated price for calculating the GDP. Whereby the nominal GDP is using the current price multiply the quantity in current year for all the goods and services produced within a year. So this one is using current year. Current year means the calculated year. So I think, okay, I better write down here. So this one is using the, so nominal GDP, very small, okay. So nominal GDP, okay. I think it's stuck. Users. Okay. Users calculator, or we call it is the current year, current year price. So this I use blue color. For calculating national income. And how about real GDP then? Okay, real GDP is using or users base year. Okay, base year means the original year, origin year, initial year, using base year price for calculating or computing. I think I better use the word computing so that you're not confused. Okay, so the difference is national GDP is using the current year. Current year means the calculated year price when computing the national income. Whereby for real GDP is using the base year. Base year means the initial year price to calculate the national income. How about the quantity? Quantity is always using the current year. Okay, quantity for both method are using the current year. The difference is only the price is different. Price is different. So what is so special about the real GDP? So real GDP assume So that means that real GDP assumes product prices remain the same, remain unchanged. Between the base year and current year, there is no change of the product price between the base year and also the current year. So that means like the real GDP is able to remove the price change effect. Okay, remove the price change effect because real GDP assume that product price between the base year and calculated year remain the same. There is no change for the price. Okay, so this can remove the price change effect or can remove the inflation effect. So this is the advantage of using the real GDP. So any question between the nominal GDP and real GDP? So that means you must know how to do the calculation for nominal GDP and real GDP. And besides that, you must also know how to calculate the percentage change of nominal GDP or real GDP between 2 years as well. So in the quiz 3, you'll be tested on that. Okay, I stop for a while. Any question on that? On real GDP and nominal GDP? Do you want any example? Nominal and real GDP. Do you need any example for today's revision? Any questions so far? Okay, so if no question, then I just presume that you know how to calculate real GDP and nominal GDP, because this type of question will be asked also during the online quiz 3, Okay, all right. Then I'll move on to the next chapter. Okay, in chapter 9, we have studied 3 different types of macroeconomics problems. I think I need to leave again. Okay, let me see whether I can adjust the size. Okay, let me try to leave this meeting again. Try to save it. Oh, okay. So let me share again the PowerPoint slide for chapter 9. Okay, can you see this screen now? Okay, so in chapter 9, we did learn 3 major problems of macroeconomics. So which are the business cycle, unemployment, and inflation. Okay, so business cycle is referred. What is the problem of business cycle here? That means like a country's GDP may not be consistent throughout a period of time. Okay, the GDP of a country may not be consistent throughout a period of time. In fact, the GDP of an economy or nation always fluctuate from time to time. Always fluctuate from time to time. Okay, and the fluctuation will involve 4 stages. So can you recall the 4 stages of business cycle? There are 4 stages involved. Anybody? Can you recall? What are the 4 stages of business cycle? Okay, I think I call your name. So just now Grace already done. All right. So we'll go to Jasmine Wang. Are you here, Jasmine? Okay. Then how about Jason Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can you please name any stage of the business cycle in an economy?
Peak.
Peak. Okay. All right. So I try to write down first. Peak. Yep. Correct. Peak. Okay. Let me try to write down somewhere. I think it's jam again. Okay, let me try to leave the Jason, what is another name for peak? Jason, is there any name for peak? Or somebody can help? Anybody? Peak is also called as?
Boom.
Boom.
Pardon, yes, boom, right? B-O-O-M, same meaning. So what is going to happen at the peak period? When the economy is having the peak period, okay, or boom, what is going to happen then? Anybody?
Maximum output.
Yes, okay. So that means like the economic is at the maximum, okay, is able to produce maximum output, maximum GDP then. If maximum output be produced, that means the country is able to produce the maximum level of GDP, right? So GDP value is at the maximum level, okay? Maximum output. If output is maximum, so that means the gross domestic production will be at the maximum level, maximum GDP, right? So if maximum GDP, that means the unemployed, most of the people have job, okay, because a lot of production involved, a lot of production. So that means a lot of business opportunities going on. So that means most of the people having job, can get job. So the unemployment is at the minimum level. Okay. So the example of the peak will be here. Okay. Here, the mountain, somewhere near the mountain here, the peak. All right. So after the peak stage, then what is the next session? The next stage will be recession time, right? You may find that after the peak, the GDP value will reduce or will start to reduce already, during the recession time. Okay, so you may find that during the recession time, the people in the economy will feel that not lost of confidence. They feel like not really optimistic about the economic condition of the country. So people will stop buying things. Okay, during the recession time, yeah, people will stop buying things. When people stop buying things, that means the quantity output produced by the producer also will reduce, because the economic condition is not very good now. So the seller also will start to reduce their production, yeah, because demand is not so great. So supply also start to reduce. So once supply reduce, you may find that the real GDP also reduce. Right? When the quantity of production reducing, the GDP will reduce. So when production reduce, you may find that the unemployment also increase. People are no longer have job because not much business opportunity. Okay. So the recession will continue until reaching the minimum level of GDP, and this stage is called as the trough stage, or we call it depression. Okay. So after the depression period, you may find that the business will start to recover again when the GDP start to increase. Okay, recover period is also called as expansion period. So at this period, you may find that the GDP will start to increase again when the production in the economy getting more and more. The GDP will increase again. Okay, so one cycle of the business, business cycle is involved about 10 to 12 years, involve 4 stages. So it's involved 10 to 12 years. So any question about the business cycle? Okay. So remember the terms, all the terms of 4 stages you need to remember in order to prepare you for your online quiz 3. Okay. So second problem, what is the problem? Unemployment. That means people may not be able to get a job even though they are looking for job. So the unemployment means that is a phenomenon whereby the labor force are trying to find job but unable to get the job. And this is the meaning of unemployment. Okay, so in order to calculate the unemployment rate, you have to use this formula. Number of people who are unemployed divided by labor force multiplied 100%. What is the meaning of labor force here? Labor force are the people who are able to work and willing to work. Able means have the knowledge, have the skill to work, and also willing to work. Willing means actively looking for job, okay, but unable to find job. Then we call this as labor force. Okay, so what is the definition of labor force? Okay, labor force should be between the age of 15 and 64 years old. If the people are below the 15 or the citizen above 64 years old, they are no longer considered as labor force. Must within this age range. Okay, and these people within this age range should be the one who are actively searching for job. Okay, if they are no longer looking for job, even though they are in this range, but they don't want to look for job, they just want to relax temporarily, because they want to take a rest. Also consider, it's no longer considered as a labor force, so that will be also not considered as the unemployment people. Okay, if they're no longer searching for job. Okay, then who are the people should not be included also in the labor force? Who are the people? These students should not be included as labor force because they are focused on the study. They are not looking for job. Okay, so students should not be included as labor force. Just like you are currently studying at Swinburne, but you are students. You are not looking for job now, even though I think most of you are about 18 years old, right? Most of you this year 18 years old, or 19 years old. So you are in this age range, okay? But you are not looking for job now. You are studying, so you are not considered as labor force. Okay. Another category of people who are not under labor force will be housewife, the full-time housewife who want to look after their family or children. Full-time housewife here, also not considered as labor force. Next will be those people who already retired. Okay, those who already retired from their career also not included as labor. Lastly will be those who have some physical or handicap problem or mental illness problem, also not included as labor force as well. So bear in mind the unemployment rate is always in percentage. Okay, so any questions so far on that? On unemployment, how to calculate the unemployment rate? So make sure that you know, and also how to identify who should be in the labor force, who should not be. You have to understand this part as well. It's very important. All right. So generally, there are 4 types of unemployment. Also very important, this part. So how are we going to categorize the unemployment people then? There are 4 types, generally frictional, structural, cyclical, and seasonal. Right. So frictional are the people who temporarily unemployed only. Frictional unemployment is usually temporary only. Temporary happen only. It's not permanent. It's temporary only. What is the reason only temporary? There are a few reasons. Right. It can be because people are quitting from the job and looking for another job in order to have better position, better salary. Okay, quit for a while and using this time to look for a job in order to have better salary or position. Then these type of people are categorized as frictional unemployment. Okay, another would be those students who already completed their study. Okay, they already completed their study and now they are looking for a job. So in the period of looking for a job is considered as frictional unemployment as well. Okay, temporary only, not employed, because they need time to look for a job. The last one will be those people who re-enter into the workforce because they took maybe 1 year leave to relax, to remove their stress, release the stress before they enter into the job market again. So during the time they enjoy their holiday, is considered as frictional unemployment. Okay? They quit the job to enjoy life, is considered as frictional unemployment. Okay, another one will be some of the mothers who just have their newborn baby before, because they want to focus on the family, maybe they just quit their job for a few years while waiting for their baby to grow up before the mother can enter into the job market again. So this type of phenomenon is also considered as frictional unemployment. Okay, structural unemployment is the second type. Second type of unemployment. It can be because due to the unemployed workers have not able to meet the job skill in the job market demand. Okay, the skills required in the job market demand already changed. Maybe now, have to use more technology, must be more technologically literacy, and if the workers are able to improve their technological knowledge, then they may get retrenched. If they get retrenched, then this is due to the we call it as a structural unemployment. This is type called as structural unemployment. Okay, another type of structural unemployment would be those people who lose their job because the factories or the companies that work with already moved to another countries, another places, whereby the workers are not able to follow the companies by moving to another location. So this type of unemployment is also considered as structural unemployment. Okay, so how to solve the problem for structural unemployment then? The best method is to provide training. Okay, provide training to the workers so that those workers can try to upgrade or retain new skills in order to get other job that can meet the job market demand. Okay. Okay, cyclical unemployment has the meaning. Cyclical unemployment happen is when the economy is having recession time and the business activities is slowing down. Okay, not many job opportunities involved. If this case happen, then some of the people may not be able to get job. If that's case, then it's called as the cyclical unemployment. So cyclical unemployment happen when the business condition is not good. When the business is having recession time or downsizing, then this will create the cyclical unemployment. Okay, so how to solve the problem then? So in order to solve the problem, usually the government play a very important role. Okay, so in order to solve the cyclical unemployment, that means the government has to stimulate the economic activities. Okay, has to provide more job opportunities for the economy or for the country. Yeah. So how to do so? The government can try to use two tools, which is called as the fiscal policy. Yeah. So in the fiscal policy, there are two tools can be used by government. That is to reduce the income tax. Okay? Reduce the income tax, because when the income tax reduced, that means people have a disposable income to spend, more disposable income for individuals to spend when the income tax is reduced or reduced. Okay, so then this can stimulate the economic condition and create more job opportunities. Another tool can be used by government through the fiscal policy is increase the government spending, increase the G. Remember G? So when the G increasing, then this can also create job opportunities for the household and also for the private firm to generate their business activities. Okay. Okay. Lastly is seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment happen when people lose the job because some of the jobs that involve are not really available in a whole year due to changes of season or climate. Just like fishermen during the monsoon season, because the wind will be very strong, it's very dangerous to go to the sea to catch fish. So during the monsoon season, fishermen need to stay in the house, maybe use that time to repair their fishing net, and also meanwhile maybe involved in other business activities. Okay, maybe selling food or other activities in order to generate income. Okay, so during monsoon season, fishermen will be jobless. In terms of fishing activity. So this period is considered as seasonal unemployment for those fishermen. Okay, so make sure that you can differentiate among these four unemployment type, because the online quiz 3 will also focus on that. Okay, then the third issue, the third problem for macroeconomics will be the inflation. Inflation means when the economy is having continuous increase of the general price for goods and services produced in the economy. Continuous increase in price level. Okay, so because when the price level increasing, that means the value of money is getting lesser and lesser. That means the value of money to buy things will be lesser. Okay, when the pricing of the product increasing. So actually inflation is also not very good, but we cannot reduce inflation to 0%. Cannot. Usually it's about 3 to 4%. Okay, if the inflation is too high, then that means that most of the prices of the products will be very expensive, and this will increase the standard of living. The living costs also increase. Okay, and the citizen may have difficulty when most of the prices increasing. It's hard to survive, which is also not good. Okay, but we also need certain percentage of inflation as well, about 3 to 4%. That should be okay, manageable. Okay. Okay, there are two main reasons that can increase the price of the products continuously in an economy. Why the prices of the goods and services can continuously increase? There are two main factors. Okay, there are two main factors that will increase the price level of the products in an economy. Okay, there are two factors. One is due to the aggregate demand. Another one is due to the aggregate supply. So if the factors are due to aggregate demand increasing, then we call this as the demand pull inflation. Okay, demand pull inflation. So that means it's caused by the increase of aggregate supply, aggregate demand. Sorry. So okay, so let us try one diagram here. If you check the diagram here, all right. So assume that the original equilibrium point at the macroeconomics is here at this point, and this is the original price level. Okay, so when the aggregate demand increasing, then this will shift the aggregate demand curve to the right hand side. I'll move to here. right? Shift to here, and this is a new macroeconomic equilibrium point. So at this point, you may find that the price level of the product increasing to P1, and the national income, which is the GDP, also increased to Y1. Huh? Okay, so what are the factors will increase the aggregate demand and cause the aggregate demand shift to the right hand side? What are the factors? Can you recall? AD. Okay, so what are the factors will increase or will shift the AD to the right hand side? Put it here. Can you recall? What are the factors will shift the AD to the right? Anybody? Generally, there are 4 factors. Can you recall? Okay, I call your name then. Quiet. What are the factors, the 4 factors that will shift the aggregate demand curve to the right? So just now, Jason already done. Okay, Johanna Lee. Are you here, Johanna? Johanna? No, okay.
C.
Yes, correct, C. C is the household consumption. So yes, what other factors can be due to C, right? Any more else?
I.
Correct, yeah. Then
G.
that will be the government spending. So when the government increase the spending, also can shift the AD to the right hand side and increase the price level of the products in the economy. That may also cause inflation. Okay, last one.
And X.
Yeah, and X will be the net export. Okay, that will be export minus import. So if all these 4 components increasing, either one increasing, this will increase the AD and shift the AD curve to the right hand side. Okay, when the AD curve is like shifting to the right too far, wow, this can really increase the price level of the products in the economy and cause high inflation rate. Okay, which is not healthy for an economy. Okay. On the other hand, cost plus inflation is due to the change of production cost. Okay, it's due to the change of production cost. When the production cost is increasing, when production cost is increasing, so that means this increase the cost, okay, for the products. When the products cost is increasing, that means the aggregate supplies will reduce because it's too expensive now to produce the products. Okay, when the cost of production is increasing. So as a result, the aggregate supply will reduce and shift the aggregate supply to the left hand side. Okay. So for instance, this diagram here, yeah. So if we found that when the aggregate supply shift to the left hand side, then the macroeconomic equilibrium point will be here. So at this point, the general price level already increased from P to P1, and the national income reduced to Y1. Okay. All right, there are a few factors that will increase the production cost. There are a few factors that will increase the production cost and shift the aggregate supply to the left hand side. Can you recall what are the factors that will increase the production cost? What other factors can increase the production cost?
Wage.
Yes, so when the salary of the workers increasing continuously, this may increase the production cost. Anything else?
Profit.
Profit, production cost here. Okay, besides production cost, there are a few factors. Okay, we can refer to this slide, right? So another factor can be due to some of the supplier or producer purposely retain their products in the store without selling, and they only sell the products when the price of the products increasing. If this case happen, this will create the profit push inflation. Okay, profit push inflation. So this will increase the price of the products as well. Okay. Lastly, is due to the raw materials that purchased from other country. The raw materials that purchased from other countries also can increase the price level. Okay, when the price of the imported goods are very expensive, this can increase the production cost, and this will cause the input push inflation. Import push inflation. So all these three types of production costs will contribute to the cost push inflation. Okay. So this one I just put I just put profit that need to be generated by, we call this as the arbitrage profit. Arbitrage profit means I purposely try to control the quantities supplied in order to get additional profit. Another one issue would be because of import price. If import price increase, that means the production cost to produce the product locally also will increase. Okay. So these are the three factors that will increase the production cost. All right. So in this chapter also you have to know what are the effects of inflation to different parties. Who are going to get benefit during the inflation? Who are going to make a loss in the inflation? And you have to remember as well. So during the inflation, that means the prices of the products or services are higher. Okay, so that means that during inflation time, who are going to get benefit? Businessmen, because they can sell the goods with higher price now and earn more profit. Okay, and also the property owners, those with the fixed property, they can increase the price of the property during the inflation as well. And also the debtors. The debtors are the borrower of money. Borrower will pay lesser. In fact, they'll pay lesser for the repayment in future if the inflation is getting higher and higher. The value of the repayment they make actually is getting lower value during the inflation time. So it's also advantage for the debtors. Okay. So any question on chapter number 9 before we move to next chapter, chapter 10? Okay. All right. Chapter 10. Chapter 10 actually consists of two parts: aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and also the fiscal policy. Okay. So in chapter 10, what are the areas that we need to focus? Okay, let me go to chapter 10. I try to get the information from our module, chapter 10.
Sir, your mic.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay. So can you see this slide? Fiscal policy? Can I? Okay. So fiscal policy actually is one of the policy that can be used by government to monitor aggregate demand in short run. Okay. So under the fiscal policy, there are two tools that can be used by government, which are the tax that can be collected by government and also total expenditure or spending that can be spent by government. Okay, these are considered as two tools. So by using these two tools, the government can monitor or control the three major macroeconomic problems. So what are the major economic problems? Actually, the government can try to monitor the economic growth of the country. Okay. The government also can try to monitor the unemployment problem to ensure most of the people can get job. Okay. Besides that, the government also can use the fiscal policy to monitor inflation problem in order to ensure that the general price level in the country is stable, or maybe about certain percentage of inflation level, cannot be too high. So by using fiscal policy, these three major economic problems can be monitored or can be managed. Right. So let us try to check what are the sources of income that can be collected through tax. The government can try to collect tax from the personal household through the personal income tax. Okay, so this personal income tax is applicable for the individual household. Okay, so the higher the income of household, the more tax they have to pay. Second tax will be implemented for the private firms, and this type of tax is called as company income tax. Okay, so if the company is having high income, receiving high income, and then they have to pay, the company has to pay tax, higher tax in that particular year. Okay, so besides that, the government also charge the indirect taxes, such as the import duty tax, excise tax, GST, and also the SST. Depends on the country as well. Some country may not use GST. Some may charge GST. Yeah, depends. Okay. So these are the tax income that can be generated by the government in a nation or economy. Okay. On the other hand, then what are the expenditure that need to be spent by government then? Okay, the government need to spend on defense and security in order to protect the nation. The government also need to use money to develop the country by stimulate economic activities and also provide economic services as well to the nation so that the economic activities can be run smoothly. Okay, and besides that, the government also need to spend on social services in order to improve education, health issue had to be addressed as well. So all these expenses can be also used, okay, as the tool to stimulate the economic in a country. Because when all these expenses increases, actually the I and G will also increase, and also the C. Okay, usually the expenditure will increase the G. Okay, G will increase. When the government increase the G, the government spending, that will be all this. Right? I use try to use a symbol, insert symbol. Okay, so if the government spending increasing in the country, usually this will also increase the activities. Okay, the private firm activities will also increase usually, because private firms sometimes also get involved in the government project. So this will also increase the I value in the country. So when the I value increase, that means this will create more job opportunities in an economy. Okay, more job opportunities now when the private firm investment increasing. That means more business activities going on, more projects, building houses, all this going on. So these are create job opportunities. So that means more job can be offered to the public, to the household especially. Yeah. So when household have more income, then this can increase their spending, and this will increase the C. Yeah. So actually we call this as the multiplier effect, got chain effect. Okay. So the G increase will increase the I will increase the C. Okay. All right. Then the next slide is actually to tell you some of the terms that you need to know. Yeah. So if within a year, if the government total revenue is exactly equal to the total expenditure, is exactly equal. These two are equal value. Then we call this type of budget as balanced budget. Okay. Balanced budget. When total revenue and total expenditure for the government are equal within a year. Okay. Then how about if the government total income is more than the total expenditure? We call this as the surplus budget. Okay. Surplus budget. That means the government receive more money compared to their spending. So we call it as surplus budget. That means government actually is making okay, surplus. On the other hand, if the government receive less money but spend more, then we call it as deficit budget. So in Malaysia, in the past few years, we already practice deficit budget in the past few years. Actually, it's not healthy also to continue having the deficit budget. Why? Because actually, in order to do this, the government may need to borrow money from other country in order to have the deficit budget. Okay. Besides that, the money also can be raised by issuing bonds. Government may sell bonds to the public in order to have more money in the country and use this money to increase expenditure. Okay, so when the revenue is less than expenditure, then we call this as the deficit budget. Yeah. All right, so how does the government control or monitor the tax and the spending? Okay, how to judge, how to like allocate the funds or resources for spending, and how much have to be collected for tax then? Okay, this depends on the economic condition. Economic condition will help the government to determine which type of fiscal policy should be used. Okay, if the economy is having recession time and there are many people are jobless and the unemployment rate is very high, then in this case here, the government should implement the expansionary fiscal policy. Okay, expansionary fiscal policy should be used. So how then? By using the expansionary fiscal policy, that means the government can try to increase the government spending, at the same time can reduce the tax. Then we call it expansionary fiscal policy. Expansionary fiscal policy. So that means in this case here, the government will increase the spending, and at the same time reduce the tax. So T, I use T to represent tax. Okay. Okay. On the other hand, what happens if the country is having inflation problem? Inflation, that means too much money chasing for a few goods only. Okay. Price of the products are generally very expensive, very high price, very expensive. So in order to reduce the inflation, then the country can practice contractionary fiscal policy. So how to do so? You have to control two tools again. That means have to monitor the G and T. So in this case, the government have to increase the T. Okay, so that the nation will have lesser money to spend. When people have lesser money to spend, the price level, that means the quantity demand will reduce, then this will reduce the price level. Okay, So one is to reduce the price, the taxation. So I use symbol of this. This have to increase. Increase the tax. So when the tax increasing, that means individual household and firm will have lesser money to spend. So this can reduce the aggregate demand and shift the aggregate demand to the left-hand side. So at the same time also, reduce the government spending. Okay, no need to involve so much government activities anymore. Okay, so these are the two tools can be used if the government want to use the contextual fiscal policy to monitor the inflation problem. Okay, so far these are the areas that you need to focus for your online quiz 3. Any questions so far? For the briefing session today? Okay, all right. The last part that I need to share with you is about the assignment. Just want to remind you that the assignment report need to be submitted through Canvas by this coming Wednesday, 12 noon. Okay. So I'd like to show you also, because some students ask me how to submit the assignment report through Canvas online. So I'd like to show you one time the process, okay, the steps involved, how to submit the assignment. So now I go to the, let's say I go to the Canvas. Okay, I share the screen now. And I'll use the student version. Okay, so the next step, okay, once on the Canvas, the next step is to go to syllabus. Okay, then go to the course summary section, click on assignment. Can you follow? Okay, all right. Because for this student website, right? This student already submitted one time already, So actually for you, you can submit many times as possible, as many times as possible, as long as you submit your work before this Friday, 12 noon, then you're allowed to submit many times as possible. But I'm not really advised to submit too many times also. So assume that, okay, you have forgotten something and then you want to insert some more information, and then resubmit how. Okay, also the same. Okay, you just need to click on the resubmit assignment button, okay, which is on the top right hand side of the screen. I click on this button. Okay, so this will bring you to this page. Right, you can read the instruction again. Okay, on the assignment report, plagiarism, rules and regulation, and okay, you try to read through. After that, you have to upload the file. So how to do so? You need to click on the choose file button. Click on this button. Then choose a file, and just simply choose one. All right. You have to submit your work in the Microsoft Word form. Microsoft Word. I need to find any document in Microsoft Word. I just simply choose one. I choose this one. Okay. Then click on Open button. Okay, so once you click on open button, you may find that the file name appears on the right hand side of the choose file button. You can also add comment to your tutor. Otherwise, what you can do is just ignore this comment bar box. No need to worry. But remember, you have to check the box to agree to show that you have agreed with the agreement. Okay. Consent. This is a consent agreement. Okay. So in short, you just need to do the uploading for the file by clicking on the choose file, and lastly, check the agreement for the end user license. Lastly, you click on the submit assignment. Okay, so usually the system needs time to process your document, and also will generate a similarity index report, or we call it plagiarism report. Okay, so you can check the report as well, how much similarity index. Usually we not really encourage to have the similarity index more than 50%. If 50%, wow, really horrible. Okay, the idea would be 30% or less. That would be better. So how to check then? How to check the similarity index? Okay, I need to show you by using my another computer, because it seems to be now I'm using the laptop. So how to check your similarity index? So usually, okay, once you submit receive a message here, that means you already successfully submitted your report. All right. So some student may ask, who should submit the report then? Only the leader need to submit. Only leader required to submit the report. Only one person enough. Why? I'll show you later. I'll explain to you what is the reason. Okay, I can show you the report for your similarity index. Let me see whether I got this or not. Similarity index. Okay, I need to go to grade. Okay, if you go to grade, right, you go to assignment, you may find that there is one flag here, right, on the right hand side. It's yellow color. Yellow color, that means the similarity index is about maybe it's still less than 50%. Okay, let us check what is the percentage. Need time to generate the turn-in report from the system. 58%, very high. Wow, 58%. Okay, so a lot of similar sentences or similar words that can be found from other documents. Okay, if you want to know more, you can try to filter or check the resources. Okay, click on this button, check the resources. Okay, so 54% of the documents are quite similar to here. Most are from these sources, copied from these sources. Okay. So this is how we check where you copy the resources. Okay. So these are the general resources that duplicate by this document. Yes.
If we first time our turning in is more than 50%, then if we do our changes and submit again, will it be that high?
Depends on how you rephrase the sentences. Depends on how you rephrase the sentences. Try not to use the same words. Okay. Try to use variety of words. Synonym.
How about you referring to the tutor, the weekly tutor lecture notes?
Try to use different words also. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe you can refer that sentence, but after that you try to change a little. Maybe homogeneous you change to similar, or identical, standardized. Okay. Try not to use the same word many times. Like homogeneous, don't use too many times. Sometimes can use identical, similar, same, standardized. Okay. and then this can help to reduce the similarity index. Okay. Or maybe you can change an active sentence becomes passive sentence, also can. Okay. Oh yeah, and then another one is for your assignment. Try not to provide definition. In fact, the question in the assignment do not require you to provide definition for different types of market structure. You do not need to like mention, okay, what is monopoly, what is monopolistic. No need to mention, no need to provide definition. Okay. But you need to use those information to justify why do you think a firm is belong to monopolistic market. Okay, but you do not need to provide definition for the monopolistic definition, no need, but you need to justify why do you think the firm is under the monopolistic market structure. Okay. So if you want to resubmit, you may resubmit your assignment, but try to resubmit before the due date. Okay, before Friday 12 noon. Okay. Okay, now I would like to explain to you what is the reason. Only the leader needs to submit the report. Other team members no need. Why? Okay, I'll tell you the reason. So let me leave the student view now. I'll go to people. Okay, let me go to the people section. I think you cannot view this, but in the people section, I already group you based on the team that you have been assigned. Let's say SAP give example, right? So let's say for group 2, those students who are doing the agriculture company, how many of you? 5 of you already been grouped, okay, in a team under group 2 agriculture industry. Okay, so only one of you need to submit the assignment report through turn it in. So once that person submit, right, other students are also able to view. Okay, and all of you will get the same marks, similar marks. Okay, so if your marks is, let's say 30 out of, let's say 30 out of 60, then all of you will get 30. Okay, but actually the total marks that we are going to use is 30. 66. Total marks is 60. Okay, total marks is 60. Then we'll convert to 30% for this assignment. Okay, so any question related to the assignment? So far, so good on the assignment. Any question that I'd like to ask? It's good also you submit early, It's good you submit early, because usually if you submit early, usually your plagiarism rate will be lesser also. Similarity index is lesser if you submit early. Usually, Because I think quite a number of you also now, like we have a few groups also doing agriculture, let's say, right? And also electronics. So some of you may have using the same statement. This this may increase the similarity index. But as long as you're not so serious, that is acceptable. Prefer is 30% and below. Okay, any question on the assignment report? Okay, so if not, then I'll just call a day. Any questions so far on either the assignment report or on the online quiz 3? For online quiz 3, if you have any other problem, you still can discuss with the tutor during this week tutorial when discussing the practice exercise 3. Okay. Any question? you can contact your tutor if you still have some issue on assignment. You can have consultation with your tutor, but you need to have appointment with your respective tutor for assignment consultation. Okay, if no other question, then we just call a day and bye-bye all of you. Take care.
Bye,
Thank you.
Chair.
Okay, yeah. So,
Thank you,
okay,
sir.
Monday, coming week Monday, during the online quiz 3, okay, on that day, I'll also send another email, okay, to all of you to remind our online quiz 3 again, yeah? So that all of you, yeah, will receive the message again on coming week Monday on the reminder for online quiz 3. Okay, thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye, I'll stop recording now.